I'd call the meeting to order. The Selectmen for November 16th, 2020. We'll stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So further notice, to comply with RSA 91A, the state of emergency and governor's orders, restrictions on public gatherings, the town is limiting attendance in public meetings to conform with current social distancing guidelines. The town will also continue to offer remote access for those that cannot attend or wish to remain home. To remotely attend the meetings, audio and video, visit our website, www.alton.newhampshire.gov. On the day of the meeting for instructions, or telephone the Selectmen's office at 603-875-2113 or 603-875-0229. There continues to be no public input at this time. Can I get approval of the agenda or any additions?
Mr. Vice Chairman?
Oh.
I'd like to just add one thing to new business. Selectmen, public at meetings.
Anything else? Can I get
I
approval?
move to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Emergency management update.
Did you have anything planned, or?
I did not.
Oh,
I think it's
okay.
probably on there, just wasn't.
Okay. We'll go right to announcements. Town offices will be closed on Thursday and Friday, November 26th and 27th for the Thanksgiving holiday. And submission of public questions, none. No appointments. New business, Alton Business Association approval of wreath donations.
I can speak to that.
Okay.
So the request is to approve the donation of a large wreath on the front of the town hall. That's basically what is donated from the ABA to the town. It was to have been put up the day before Thanksgiving, but the ABA did not have enough people to meet with ArborTech to do that here, so they had to do it Friday, this past Friday. So you'll notice it's up there, but you still need to accept the donation.
Liz, did I read in that they also finally want to decorate this tree in front of the town hall?
Yeah.
Great.
The lights are on it.
Yeah,
Yeah. They
It
were
looks
doing
good,
that Friday.
okay.
Can I get a motion to accept the donation?
Make a motion to accept the donation from the Alton Business Association.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you.
Selectmen's public at meeting. Bob.
Yes, watching television, learning about this virus, it's increasing. It's on its second round. I think we possibly should be looking at going back to our old schedule of no public attendance at our public selectmen's meetings. It's pretty hard to control 10. That's what the state guidelines are, I believe, is 10.
They kind of pulled back on that, and they said as long as you can distance.
Yeah.
6 feet. So,
But they're really talking about 10, because they're on television. I think we should be setting an example with this spike. And I'm the last one. I was the first one here that wanted public input, public to come to the meetings. I'll have to admit, I probably jumped the gun. We were having a decline nationwide. statewide. In the town of Colebrook, we've been lucky here, but, it's increasing. And I don't like recommending it, but I think it's something we should consider.
We're increasing here too.
Hmm?
Can the, fire chief give us a number here in town?
So the last update I got, there's 15 cases in town. And they're not all clustered together. There's a couple that are clustered together, but the rest of them are kind of spaced out. So that doesn't necessarily give us good contact tracing. So we're not really able to tell how they got it, if it's community-based, if they've traveled, or where they're at. Department of Health and Human Services has pulled back on how much contact tracing they're going to do because of how many cases there are in the state now. They just can't keep up with it. So they're trying to focus on really what's going to prevent spread the most.
Yes.
Is this something that the board would like me to take to the emergency management team meeting this Wednesday to,
That's what I was gonna ask.
for a quick, okay.
For a review before we make a decision. Now, actually speak with the emergency team, I think would be a good idea.
Or can one of us make that meeting?
Get their recommendations.
When's the next meeting?
Wednesday.
Wednesday at 1?
This Wednesday?
This Wednesday at 1:30. Yeah. And I mean, if you're okay, if everyone is like a general consensus in agreement with that, I'm sure the EMT could set that as.
Yeah, I mean, we wanna, we're gonna move to whatever is gonna make you guys feel the safest. Obviously, like he said, setting the example is probably,
It's precedent.
That's,
probably important, as well as doing what's gonna be safe for you and everybody in the building.
Correct.
As cases increase, he's right.
think about it, because I'm down anytime soon.
It's something that needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
That's the board. Bill?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bob?
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
One of us, we could ask the chairman when he comes in if he's available. If not, one of us can attend.
And if not, there are two EMT members here, and we can certainly relay it to the others and get things taken care of for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. On to old business. Fire department and water department fence project.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as you guys remember, we brought it up before, we only had one quote. So I took some time and kind of chased a couple other companies down. Another company actually came in and did another measurement. Two companies besides Lowe's were able to quote it out. And being fence companies, they were just a little more expensive. One thing I can say, if you go with either one of the fence companies, it's one person. If something goes wrong with the fence, you go back to the fence company, you say, hey,
Right.
come fix it. Otherwise, we go through Lowe's, and Lowe's either contacts the subcontractor they use, or they pull in another subcontractor to fix it. It's chain link with privacy slats, it's nothing real fancy, so it's not.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah, it's not like we're gonna need a whole re-engineered fence if something goes wrong. We just, somebody comes in and fixes it, so.
So you're both recommending Lowe's?
That's the lowest price.
Yeah.
Did
By
you feel
far.
Pardon me?
No, by far, it's the lowest price.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you feel comfortable with their interview and that they
yeah,
measured everything properly, they looked at everything, they understood what they were bidding on, they knew what they were, the two different areas, so.
yeah.
It's sitting right here.
It seems like it is, and I'm just asking your
They
opinion.
were very responsive right at the beginning, too. They were able to come right out. The real question is, are they still gonna have time to get it done before the ground freezes? And
Did they give
that
you-
I don't know.
Did you ask them what their time limit was if they were chosen?
They did not say, they just kind of said, once they figure it out, they kind of schedule their subcontractor, so it depends on how busy those are.
Our quote with Lowe's was back in.
Yeah, it was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Plow in there without pushing it onto the.
Without stepping on the chief's feet, I personally would not like to see it done this year, if we could appropriate the funds for next year, just because now we're still late in the year. And I have a lot of projects going on, I don't know about yourself. I mean, if we had to get it done, absolutely, but, you know, we're getting down to crunch time now. You know, we got these quotes in September, came to you guys, and they still were the lowest. I suppose if we talk to them and they can be prompt and fit us in, I don't know what they have for projects, it'd be worth getting done. But if it's gonna be, you know, you're looking into, you got the holiday coming up, so that's, now you're getting into the 1st of December. It might be better off to, especially, I mean, you know, you're drilling into cold ground to get those fence posts in there, concrete curing if that's what they're using. I'm not a fence person, but, not a fence expert, but it might be better to take it on.
And that may be their recommendation too at this point.
I'm sure, but if it goes into December, it just might be.
Right, at that time, when it's starting to go down, freezing, any cold temperatures or anything like that, it may have changed.
Well, do you think the, price would stay the same?
I would imagine so, but I can tell you, you're in the building trades.
Who knows?
Especially with everything that's going on.
You get a quote for one thing, and then all of a sudden delivery trucks or manufacturing plants shut down, prices go up, so,
Prices
A lot of
promised
times
they were
prices
gonna
are
go
good for
low.
30 days or 60 days.
I did bring that up to
Something
the chief, and, you know, they didn't write anything that it was for
Nope.
30 days.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Normally, that's how it works with most things, but, it doesn't hurt to reach out to them and then kind of regroup. I really can't tell you if, I know pipe prices are all over the place, so,
All the
imagine that's consistent with everything else.
Fluctuates fine.
So I guess it's either way, really.
I have a question on the funding sources. What are the funding sources for this?
Well, my funding sources were a little bit differently in September than they are now. I won't lie about that. I've had some things come up that need prompt attention, so
So your funding source is your enterprise?
it would
fund?
most likely be from the enterprise fund.
What about yours?
And I have it set up in my budget, so if it goes into next year, I would come back to you and look to cover those funds, so we'd be able to do it.
So, encumbering of funds needs to be done by December 31st, approved by the selectmen with a signed contract from the vendor. So, in order to encumber, yours is a little bit different. Do you think that you would have the funds next year?
Yeah.
In your fund?
Depending on how school and Church Street go.
I was just curious about that.
Is there any drawback to not having it done at this time with either one of you without having the chain link fence? At this time, so it's not gonna interfere with you in any way. You
No.
guys been going along without it.
Right,
At this
it's
point.
really aesthetics.
It's just all aesthetics, so, I mean, so it's not something that's gonna hinder you at this point. Mhm.
Well, why should we approve it tonight?
Well,
Because
this was something we've been working on,
Yeah.
so to not bring it to you would be
Well-
a waste of.
Yeah, but you're talking about not doing it till the spring.
we're gonna see if they can do it. It's gonna be, it's hinging on them. So if you guys give us permission to go ahead, call them tomorrow and see if they can get it done. If they can't get it done, then we're gonna have to put it off. It's dependent on the weather.
Yeah, you're looking for the decision to at least accept their bid
Right.
and award it to them and then find out whether or not they can do it this fall before winter starts or
They're
next
not
spring.
gonna schedule it unless we say, yep, it's happening.
And Bob, we're just bringing to your attention that, you know, Lowe's, the quote was, you know,
Yeah.
early fall. We can't speak for them whether those prices changed.
You said you're gonna have to take it out of the revenue account?
Yep, that's what she's recommending.
I can tell you when I spoke with Laura in the past that we're completely capable to do that. we're not showing any drop in collecting revenues at all.
Yeah, we just like to try to stay in that budget, of going into that account.
Well, it needs to be put in a capital reserve, which hasn't been done yet. So once that's put into a building expense, let's look at the capital reserve and see if we can get it out of that. We've been talking about that for a little over a year, about where to put those funds, and they're not in there yet. So I think that's something that we should probably look into coming into March vote.
What's the board's wishes?
Well, it seems like we should approve it if it can be done in the fall of this year.
Right. But we can't do it this year, we're gonna come back to you and let you know.
Yeah.
And to find out if there's a fluctuation in price of the wages. That's a, you know, a given.
Maybe once
They
things
should,
with COVID calm down, we can get more quotes too. I mean, if
That's
it
true.
were to fall through, I'm saying, you know, I mean, we're not getting a lot back
They
from
were all
people.
very busy.
definitely talk to them, find out, get a general consensus of when they can do it. If they have to wait, is there an increase in price? Simple as that.
I'll take a vote on that.
Yeah.
Motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bob.
I move we approve.
Oh, I was just gonna, I
Oh,
thought you were
you
gonna
want
say
to?
something, I was waiting.
Go ahead. Go
It
ahead.
doesn't matter, go ahead. I thought you were gonna say something else before we voted.
I move, we approve the bid as presented tonight for Lowe's, $9,763.41. And the breakdown is $4,277.59 for the fire department and $5,485.82 for the water department.
I second.
No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor? Thank you. Water Department, arsenic.
So the last meeting I wasn't available at, the question came up about, I think there were some questions from you about not running Levy Park and the arsenic levels of where they stand. There was a little bit of a miscommunication.
Question was, if we have to do anything down at that well to fix the arsenic problem before we run, so it doesn't freeze through the winter again.
To fix the arsenic?
Yeah, where we're getting arsenic in there, do we have to do anything to that well, filters or anything?
Not yet. So I think I should first start by explaining the violation, because we received another violation letter, and that was the meaning of you guys bringing it up in public input. So the way arsenic works, specifically for Alton, is that we were on quarterly sampling. So quarter 3, we're supposed to take our chemical monitoring at Levy Park. We had the high arsenic level of 0.019, which just put us over the threshold. So that put us in a violation status. We then took another quarterly sample, and it was my misunderstanding that if that was under the limit, we were going to be out of violation status. Actually, what happens is that you have a running annual average, and most towns, they take arsenic samples throughout the year, not just one quarterly sample. So if they have, 4 quarters and they have 4 different arsenic levels, you're going to take that average, and if you're underneath the limit, you're okay. Being that we only take 1, you don't have much of an average. That's what you've got. After speaking with DES, if we take 12 concurrent samples, now they can't be sporadic. I can't take an arsenic test for Levy Park this Monday and then take it Tuesday this week, and then the following month, the second week. I have to submit sample results, compliance sample tests, on the same day every month to consider that our running annual average. So the reason we're not running Levy Park, there was a misunderstanding with that, was because I have to send out those violation letters again, and it gets people very, very upset. They think they're drinking water with arsenic in it. What we were doing at the department was gathering a good array of samples. So when they looked at the sample results, they had confidence that they're under the violation. So what we've been doing since the last, I'm just pulling it up on my phone, since the violation, we took another sample, and the results were 0.0032. The standard going into July next year when they drop it is 0.005. So we're at 0.0032. Then we took another one. We're taking it every Monday and leaving Levy offline. I submitted another test result today. That will give me 4, and that gives me the confidence to then put Levy Park online into the system so the water line doesn't freeze, and the customers can have confidence that their results are now declining. So our next result was 0.0026, which is another drop, and the result after that was actually 0.0021. So we're significantly dropping. Now, that being said, we could lose water in that well at some point. It's just natural. You know, we're in a drought. It's had a long break, so I would hope that it would do very well. The arsenic could start to come up. We're still pretty close because they're dropping the standard to 0.005, but we're still far away. So as far as treatment right now, I don't believe we need it, but it is something that we need to start anticipating because they are dropping that standard, you know, every 3 years, I believe, to trace amounts. So, but right now I've got enough evidence that now that the well is running regularly, not just, you know, it's on in April and then back on again in October. It's running. After I get these results back from this Monday's test, I usually get them I get a verbal on Tuesday. I get the actual hard copy on Wednesday. If that result is still within the limits we've been seeing for the past samples, we'll turn that on to the system. Levy Park will run Monday through Thursday, and we'll switch back to Jones Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just like we did in the past. But I think there was a whole bunch of discrepancy as to we're not gonna run Levy. It's gonna freeze again. It's gonna be a nightmare. I was just trying to get enough data collected to give the customers confidence that it was safe.
Say that stays at the 0.3.
Yep.
We have to put a filter or anything in that well for next year to after July.
The standard is 0.005. If that changes, if we start to creep up, and if we exceed that limit, say we have a bad sample, say it didn't flush long enough, we have a standard operating procedure for sampling now because of this, that well runs at least 24 hours before we take a sample. With that process, I think we'll be fine. If we do start seeing a jump, and we get back into violation status, I imagine we have to. But right now, we haven't even been close to the 0.005, which is not the standard right now. We're still 0.00. But they're cutting that in half.
Right.
But I think Levy's doing quite well now with the procedures that we're doing.
Worst scenario, if you do have to treat it, is that
It would have
big
to be,
money?
It would have to be engineered. The station itself right now is not big enough for any type of filtration. Yeah, and being that it's not our land and whatnot, there would be a lot that would go into it. Arsenic, depending on what type of arsenic it is, depends on your type of treatment, depends on how much surface area you need to have filtration in there. It's a very small building. We make do with what we have. But,
Yeah.
now that we have the new VFD in there, that panel takes up a lot more room than the last one. So, and then we've got a transformer in there. So
That's why I'm asking if we got a plan on doing it. If we do, then you gotta,
Right. Well, it's a very expensive thing to do if you're under the limit. You know what I mean? So if you continue to stay under the limit, no, you don't. But if you're gonna I mean, we can budget to test non-compliant samples to do a general system evaluation to see how we're performing. We're on quarterly sampling anyway, but we can do our own testing. I think an arsenic test is $18 to $24 to kind of see what our performance is. It doesn't have to go to the state, but it gives us an idea as to how we're performing in there and if we need to do something before we're in violation status. If we do that type of sampling once a month is kind of our procedure, we're going to know before our quarterly samples and we get into violation status, which is a small cost compared to it, to do the research than to find out and then have to react. I don't think that's a bad plan. And I can work that into my sampling schedule.
yeah, because we don't want to just all of a sudden say, hey, we need an addition, we need another building.
Yeah, and I think that's what's been going on is, Jones is our strong well. We rely on that one, and Levy's kind of been put on the back burner. But I found that it performs a lot better when it's run.
Right.
So.
Yeah, like any well.
Yeah, just like any type of motors or electrical, you don't want them to sit for a long time.
So what have you've been pumping that well to waste?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's,
Just to build the confidence,
Yeah.
with that letter, I do the same thing with my own mail. If I only see what I want to see in that letter, and it tends to cause alert for a lot of our customers. And, some people, talking with a lot of customers, they still have the mindset that, well, I get my water off of Levy and I get my water off of Jones, and that's not how it works. So to have those hard facts, the data that has been submitted to the state, I think if we do get those calls and we have that evidence, they'll feel a lot better that they're within this certain range when we turn the well back on. And we're in smaller amounts, so.
when do you think that'll take place?
Like I said, we sample every Monday, and I usually get the results around Tuesday, Wednesday morning. When I have that fourth set of results, if it's where we were performing in the past results, we'll turn Levy Park back on, and it'll run Monday to Thursday. Right now, we're only running about 3 hours a day. So, I mean, we're not pumping a lot of water right now. We're not making a lot.
A lot of water back in the ground.
Yeah. So, I think our run times might jump up to 5 hours a day when we run off the levee because it only does 300 gallons a minute. But that might go against us as well with levee because it's still going to be a little bit longer than in the past when we were pumping 16 hours a day. So we may find that we might have to flush the system a little bit more because of stagnant water. But it's one of those things.
It's getting better.
Yeah, but it's just like a bruise. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. We're at 3 hours right now, 165 pounds of pressure. It's gonna find its spot to relieve itself pretty soon. But yeah, I think the Monday through Thursday schedule and put the heavy load on Jones for the weekends just because people are home, they're doing more. We might get into some mild temperatures coming up in the next week, so Jones can keep up a little better. Not that it's going to have a hard time keeping up. So that's kind of the plan. If there was any confusion as to why levee wasn't running, I don't want to go through seeing an 8-inch main frozen solid again, so. So we will have it running by the end of the week.
I was nervous about.
Yeah.
Oh, believe me, I was too. That's why I figured we better talk about it and kind of clear the air.
Don't
My
need that
plan
hassle again.
Chair over to Ruben.
Yeah, if you want to, you can continue running the meeting, if you like.
Go ahead. We're happy.
that? You're welcome, thank
How
you.
did you and Mr. Roberts make out today? Good?
No. So there's a little bit of a problem with our fusion machine. There's EIPS pipe and there's IPS pipe. Our fusion machine can do both, but when it was purchased from Lakes Region Water, it didn't have the inserts to run, the dips pipe. EJ Prescott, when I said, hey, I need pipe, let's go, they delivered dips, but they can't find their inserts for the dips fusion, adapters. So, we were able to, Highway was able to go up today and saw cut the pavement for us, which is perfect. My EJ Prescott rep, because we're in the VAST program, is driving. For some reason, the adapters got delivered from Gardner, Maine to LA Drew up in Intervale. So my EJ Prescott rep got confirmation that they were delivered at LA Drew, and he's driving up tomorrow and delivering them to me tomorrow morning. So our plan is to get all the pipe up there, and each fuse should take about 20 minutes. Hopefully we can stay in front of Maddie and the excavator, and we'll lay the pipe right in.
Good.
Good luck with that.
So, yeah, well, maybe you'll hit a service or something and slow down, but no, those are 40-foot sections of pipe, so one fuse is 80 feet, so we should be able to stay, especially with the colder temps, that pipe's gonna cool off quick, so we should be able to get it right in the ground.
Good.
Have a new main by Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Good evening. Gentlemen, sorry I was late tonight. Move on to item 3, 2021 Church Street, School Street Road Reconstruction Discussion and Finalization. Mr. Roberts can join us. And I did have one resident over there come and see me over the weekend with some thoughts, and I think that's why 2 of the residents are here tonight. But they gave me some thoughts I'd like to bring forward after Mr. Roberts does his thing.
I'll bring it forward, before I cut the one down the road.
So the neighbors on the, depending on which side of the road you're going down, but let's start from Main Street going down School Street towards 140. The neighbors on the left-hand side, about 4 of them to 5 of them have come together with the thought is, why not move the sidewalk on the other side of the telephone poles? So you don't have to move it to the right-hand side and have the kids cross down there by that curve. The ones that came and talked to me said they're willing, they're not gonna have any problems with it, but they threw that out there for a thought. And then you could put the granite curbing, if you had to, or paved curbing up along too close to the telephone poles to keep cars out of the telephone poles. They were thinking about putting a 4-foot sidewalk on that side where it is now, but on the other side of the telephone poles. So you wouldn't have to do a crosswalk down there in front of the old Bowles garage or in front of the Varney apartment house.
Yeah, taken care of.
So the sidewalk would remain on the same, but that's what they were asking. I told them I would bring it before the board tonight and see what your thoughts were.
Yeah, instead of having 2 crosswalks, you'd still only have 1.
You'd have one down at the other end of.
Yeah, like there is now.
Well, no, you'd have one down at the other end of 140, because don't forget, when you get past Church Street, you have that
Oh, yeah.
change right there, because the embankment, you'd still have a crosswalk there changing over at that point. But your busiest part of the road would still stay on the same side. That's what got brought before me, Ken.
One of the questions I had asked the day of the
Yeah,
sidewalk,
yeah.
I had asked about having that on that side.
And I thought about it too.
Yeah.
Same issue.
And they had talked about, well, leave a grass area there. My feeling is with the grass area, I can't see a grass area in between there, only because there would never be any grass, because the salt and everything would just keep killing it.
So in order to do something like that, the granite curbing would not be on the sidewalk. Granite curbing would be in front of the telephone poles. Because that's what guards the telephone poles.
Okay.
So you're going back to, there'll be some type of grass strip there, whether it's 3 or 4 feet wide, and then a concrete sidewalk that would be embedded. So it wouldn't have granite curbing on either side, it would just be a 4-foot concrete sidewalk on the backside. Basically, the whole idea of the sidewalk is to protect the telephone poles. So that's why you would have them on the granite out there, grassed area, and then I have no problem with it. We have plenty of right-of-way for it. Put it on either side of the road. But that would be, dealing with the parking area in front of veterinarian clinic would not be there because of the granite curbing. Other than that, there'd be a couple other issues. I have to look at whether or not, what kind of trees we've got that are, when we get down further. I don't know if we have any big maples or something. And I'm trying to think what's on that left-hand side to put it behind that. I know that, we haven't talked with Courtney at all, but this would be the perfect opportunity. I know one of the fire hydrants on that side would be moving that fire hydrant into that grass area rather than being behind the sidewalk. Yeah, it's a little bit different. But it's all doable.
Well, it was just brought to me from their concern, so then the kids wouldn't have to cross the street on that slight curve right there.
So when it came down to the curb line, once we get past the telephone poles, when we got back towards, Candy sitting behind us, so I just mentioned that, that's where the granite curbing would come back to the sidewalk. So again, in that area, it wouldn't be affected much more than the 6 or 8 inches that we discussed. Prior to that, it'd be quite a bit.
Let me ask this question. If we kept the sidewalk on that side, all the veterinarian would lose some of their parking on the street parking. Why not make the right-hand side then, move that over a little bit for some off-street parking right there up to the funeral home? Because when there's a funeral there, when it's a large one, or a wake, we know that that area can get a little congested. So even if I know the cost is a little more, but what if we made that road just a little bit wider to make some off-street parking on?
Or to make it wider, you have to go at least 8 feet, if not 10. So you're adding 10 feet to that road, which is 20 feet wide, so it's 30 feet wide in that beginning.
It's just at the beginning section.
It's just at the front.
Well, for the short section right there, the bull pine comes out, it's on the corner. The only thing that we have to figure out would be the drainage system, that'd be up to the engineer, that goes across to the bank. That would be the only high question mark. All your drainage is on that side, but the next drainage down, I think, is right in front of the entrance to the mortuary, funeral home. And the next one's in a lot down below that. But up to that point, I don't have any problems with that either.
The other thought I had is, I talked to you about it that day, the telephone pole that's down by where the cars park diagonally on the right-hand side. Asked you about that to see if that could be moved back so we could push that parking in a little bit, because when you come around that corner, the way the town put out the little island there, it's a little narrow right there, especially if someone doesn't pull in all the way. So the thoughts were if we could move that in the way I talked to you about, but we didn't know because of the telephone pole, because the guide wire that supports it would probably end up having to go on private property.
Yeah, according to this, we are, with the sidewalk behind the parking, we're actually pushing the limits as far as sitting on town property. So when they built that, they built the sidewalk right to the town line. In order to go back any further, it'd be a question mark. Now, for the intersection itself to change, there's no doubt in that we want to change that intersection. The little island in between it, gone. You know, we're going to pull that out. You know, it's just a maintenance pain in the neck. And that corner could be rounded further, which would make it easier for the buses to come around. And the same thing in the other direction. It'd be a fairly wide intersection because it doesn't quite line up directly across the street to Pine Street. And the same thing the other way. It doesn't line up with the rest of School Street. So that would be something for the engineer to figure out how, at the end of that parking area from the school, that we address that corner to widen it out in that one area and get it on better alignment with the rest of the road. Because now you're going to put sidewalks down below that to Route 140. So
That was my only concern, right across from the school bus, there's that slight curve there. When the cars are all parked there, it seems like they creep up just a little bit.
yeah.
So even if we could move further down with the parking, get a little more straight in, or more of that, a longer angle going in, so they get them more off the road instead of just right on where a white line would be, per se. That was one of my only concerns. And then at the end of School Street at 140, is making that a straight turn-in instead of a rounded turn-in. And I think you can discuss that anyways.
Right. The other thing is because we're changing the drainage system, I mean, that can be addressed because not just the right side of the road, but the school side of the road. That's a big dip when they pull into the turnabout area. The only reason that went out as far as it did, because they brought that sidewalk out to that edge, is that can be shaved down a little bit as well. I think that would be up to the engineer how he wants to do a realignment back to school in that corner and still keep drainage. You know, again, we're talking about brand new drainage, so that's the plus side of it. So basically, before I'm actually going to talk to an individual we drew the plans, talked about setting up an RFP for this, and we'll have to sit, Courtney and I will have to sit with them to figure out the water line side of it and what we're gonna do. So this concept is what we're kind of finalizing now, so you wanna keep the sidewalk on the same side. Granite curbing will be in front of the telephone poles, not behind them. And then the granite sidewalk will be, same thing we're doing, 4 feet wide, 4 inches thick, good sub base and everything. We got grass that comes up on both sides of it. Keep it on that side, and then the grass strip will actually fade out after the last telephone pole just before the school. And it will come back, the granite curbing will come back up to the sidewalk, which will still stay 4 feet, up to the school entrance. All the drainage system on this roadway is actually on the opposite side of the roadway, so it'll be on your right-hand side driving down from Main Street. We'll keep that drainage all down that whole right-hand side. Seems to work now. I'm pretty sure it will continue to work. They'll have to engineer it that way to keep that drainage on that side. If for some reason they think they cannot, then they'll just put a cross culvert going across another catch basin. So we'll deal with the intersection at School Street itself, Pine Street, Church Street, School Street, that whole intersection, and try to get him to doing a realignment for that. Again, you're gonna get a rough draft before this is finalized. The only thing we're here to do is say, yeah, we're gonna go out to engineering for this, and these are the ideas. So, just to discuss the drainage, so these are basic standard pipes all the way down through the drainage system until it gets beyond, and this is only my opinion, and we'll ask him about it, until it gets beyond the Church Street going towards Mill Pond. They actually make a 6-foot diameter sumps. And because it's such good digging in that area, only to protect Mill Pond as much as possible, because we still use 6,000 yards of sand a year on an average, and we sand these pretty hard. That will protect the last few catch basins of the mains, because on that lower side, there's actually catch basins on both sides of the road. So the right-hand side will be the mains. So they will be 6 feet in diameter. So it traps everything that we can possibly trap that will go into the catch basin.
We're gonna have some type of swale at the end of that before it gets Mill Pond, or a sediment pond?
There is an open swale across the street that actually belongs to the state. Once it goes under the road, that right-hand side is a question mark. I'm not even sure what town property is there. We've never maintained it. As far as I know, that it's a state culvert that goes across. We just tie into that. So, and then when we get back into Church Street, now Church Street, what they originally did to Church Street, and I kind of mentioned it there, after we drew this little intersection, is that the catch basin that's in front of the old video that's right there at the intersection will probably be remodified a little bit. What goes across the road right there is a 6-inch clay. You actually look in it, kind of winds, and it actually comes across the street there. But the very next one back is a catch basin, and we're gonna ask him to design this so that catch basin is collective going towards Mill Pond and not back towards Main Street. Because what they had to do is they put the pipe directly on top, right underneath the cover, so it's not down on it. So it actually froze on us a couple of times. So I'm gonna mention that to him as well. Now, this also gets granite curbing the sidewalk all the way down through, from the video all the way down through, and it gets parking just beyond the video, all the way down through the whole right-hand side is parking, so it gets the Calvis residents. What we've never done is put parking on the opposite side of the road. It was requested once before by the church. So that would be a question to the Board of Selectmen. Do we want him to attempt to design someplace in front of the church? And what they were supposed to be was handicap parking in front of the church.
I guess my question would be to you. Certain Sundays, certain holidays, that road is just barely passable by one car.
Yes.
So I think either there should be parking on all of one side, like myself, looking at it. Because if he had to go down on Christmas Eve evening, they're having a church, so he had to go down and plow. Even with an 8-foot plow going down there through with his truck, it's still gonna, it can be kind of tight. Because of the way the sidewalk is, the sidewalk will be actually reformed to 4 foot, correct? Going down.
Yeah, it's right now, it's bituminous curbing on both sides. And now it's gonna be granite curbing with, and the road has to be adjusted quite a bit too, in that area.
It'll be 4 foot wide on one side, which is, it's only running about 2.5 to 3 feet, correct?
In most cases, 3 feet. 36-inch
We're
sidewalk.
gonna go another foot wide, so that's either going back into the lawns there, which I don't know where our right of way was there, because I can't
Right,
remember.
we have, on that side of the road, we're like sitting right on top of it.
And as it is, the parking that sits there now puts them right in the road, really. So, I mean, the churches, I mean, they try to keep the area plowed during the winter time so they can park out in the field. But I believe Ken's right, the park, the sidewalk should be all on one side. So sidewalk coming up from School Street, up on Church Street, that little bit of sidewalk there, is that town land where that sidewalk is now?
Yes, the bituminous curbing, we were requested many years ago by the church, because kids were going to the church there, to build that sidewalk up further on that right-hand side, and that's what we did. So it dropped off at the church. That's probably the only cross drainage that will be in that road. These roads are right there at the corner of that parking lot too.
Is that on the edge of the right of way too?
Yeah.
How much more right of way do we have there? Or are we out of?
Looking at it, I want to say 8 feet.
Another 8 feet to go, or?
Yeah, we're actually on the line in most cases with the parking and sidewalks on, coming from Main Street would be the right-hand side. We're sitting right on top of the line, but on the left-hand side, we're at least 8 feet away.
All the way down?
Pretty much, yes.
So what if we,
Almost all the way to the intersection.
what if we switch the sidewalk to the other side? Or we kept the sidewalk on the same side, it would all stay same side all the way down, and then we widen the roadway a little bit to the right, so you have better off-street parking.
Switch the parking from right-hand side to left-hand side completely?
Going down. Yeah.
That's a possibility. People are gonna lose a few things up front, but yeah, because you won't have that parking on the side, you may not have to switch a lot of the lines. You're only talking about 2 or 3 feet, maybe.
Either that, or you put the sidewalk all on that side and move the road into where the sidewalk was, but the only problem.
Yeah, that's a great possibility.
I mean, either way, one way or the other, just so you can widen that road just a little bit.
Widen out, right.
Because of the off-street parking.
Right. Yep. Yep, you could actually do that almost from the intersection of Main Street all the way down through there. With the exception of a few telephone poles, you might have to get around.
The only place you really get some open drainage is right there in front of Calvis's stone wall, correct?
That's where it goes open drainage, but it will all be closed drainage system. There'll be no open drainage system.
The sidewalk could continue right straight down, then cut across where the intersection is.
Yeah, I'd have to look and
You're gonna have
see.
a crosswalk there anyways coming across, so the kids are gonna walk down the rest of School Street.
Up Elvis's, wouldn't you, because of that little hill, never get icy.
Well, either hill gets icy. The sidewalk now that we have comes up the hill.
Yeah, but I'm just saying with the cars, you're saying cross it right there.
No, not cross it there, cross it down at the intersection, because you're already gonna have a crosswalk coming across from the intersection to go down the
Bring up
rest of
that side.
School Street.
And we just have to do something with the fire hydrant that's right there.
That's right. One right down there. Then you got the rocks that are in the town right away, right there. Just have to be-
Yeah, they're not staying.
So, I mean, I'm just saying one or the other, keep the sidewalk on one side so we can widen that roadway a little bit. Or vice versa. It doesn't really matter much to me, but.
I think you're correct, though, that road's gotta be a little wider when it gets, because it gets packed.
That'll help.
Actually, it's quite wide. It actually is quite wide when it's in around the church. It only narrows up when it gets closer to the intersection of School Street is where it really starts to narrow up, only because it's never been cut back. And according to this, we could do a pretty good cutback.
The only place that it isn't narrow is right in front of the church, because normally nobody parks in front of the church. Right there in front. They either park all on the right, and then right after the church, they go both sides, and then all the way up and through. So I'm just thinking more safety-wise, that's all. While we're doing it, why not make that a little extra wider, because it'd be a lot less expensive now, than they say, all right, we should have done this, and go back and redo it.
Yeah, they might miss a little bit of their islands by the church, but other than that, that's about it. I don't see anything that's really constraining the widening to that side of the roadway.
The only thing you'd have a couple, and then one neighbor on the corner down here, they got a few trees, maple trees right in the line. That must be right within that 8 feet close to it.
Right, we own quite a bit as we get down to that, and then,
Well, we own that tip, don't we, down in that corner?
we own the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, quite a bit of the
That's where the one, single-room schoolhouse was, right on that corner.
Yeah, we, it actually shoots back from the roadway. If I had to guess right here, it probably jumps back 35, 40 feet in that corner. That whole corner on the right-hand side coming down and turning onto Church Street, we own at least 40 feet of that.
Yeah. 'Cause
Basically, if we were down there, you saw the two walkways that were there.
Yes.
We were gonna eliminate one, but that's all on town property too, that whole.
That's where I was hoping maybe we could shift some of that diagonal parking down.
Yep.
there in that corner.
Right, yeah, once we get to that, so actually, right, just beyond the telephone pole is when the shift would begin. And it's all town property. We can realign that.
Gentlemen, just, I'm not speaking out of turn, just so I can confirm what I said to you about the sidewalk. If you mind if I ask the folks? Just so I had Mr. Hayes' conversation with you right, I wanted to make sure, I just wanted to double check with you folks.
Yeah.
Was my understanding that you wanted to keep the sidewalk on the same side?
It was prices all at one time. It's very dangerous, kids crossing that road.
I just wanted to make sure I had the conversation. Thank you.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I thought that.
I remember saying it that day,
Yeah.
I would have been in favor to keep it all on that side.
I mean, just a quick look at the whole thing, the only thing I see in here is one large maple tree. It would be on Mr. Hayes' property, according to this. That's the only question mark that's there. We just have to look at that. It's gonna be the only question mark. Yep.
Let's see if we can get a hold of Mr. Hayes and just let him know that it's a possibility.
Yeah, and it may not have to come out, I'd have to look at the telephone pole, it's right there, and I think that's right on his property, that's behind the sidewalk and not actually in front of the sidewalk or in the sidewalk. I'm pretty sure that one is the one that sets back. But I'd have to look at it, that's what creates a straight line. But setting the rest of it in the back, I don't think there's a problem through, as far as tree wise, all the way down through there. So that's what I'm gonna try to write into an RFP when talking to, I'm actually gonna talk with Mark Sargent, who drew the plans, and see if we can't formulate a good idea of what the feelings are of the board, the residents, put it together. He puts a preliminary together, it comes back to you as the board to take a look at it and see if we're all on the same page. And then he'll go to try to finalize it and come up with an estimated cost. So you'll know where you're standing before it goes to bid.
That'll include the water line, everything.
Yeah, I'll have to get with Courtney, we'll have to go over it with, hopefully I can meet with Mark Sargent, it'll be nice enough to come out and talk with us, to make sure we're all on the same page to put it out to bid. I don't think there's anything else, and we'll do all the parking on the left-hand side of Church Street coming in from Main Street. We'll try to continue it down as far as possible. So we may end up adding parking beyond what they have now. And I think the church would enjoy seeing handicap spots near the church. So it'll be on the same side of the road. So basically, there is no sidewalk on that side of the road.
Right.
And we just have to maybe adjust for a crosswalk.
Yep.
At the church on that one side.
Right.
You have kids coming up for after-school programs. That would be one.
Yeah.
We're ADA compliant.
Yeah, the only thing we may be looking at is, just to offset the cost, because the drainage system is on the opposite side of the roadways here, is running, rather than granite curbing, bituminous curbing. Kind of the same thing we did in Trash Side, the same thing we just did up at Roberts Cove. Just to control the water, then there's no ditch lines, there's no dumping out on the lawns, most of the stuff. So far, doing really, really well with it, so we're hanging on to it pretty good. And we're still in consensus, once we get to Church Street, headed for 140, the sidewalk will start on the right-hand side till it gets approximately almost to the driveway or the parking area that they're utilizing for the old residents on the right. And we're gonna cross it right there, across the street, and then all the way down to Route 140 on that side of the street.
That would be a great curbing line in coming off the roadway there.
Yep. So that's what I'm gonna have him draw for you and come up with some, you know, preliminaries before it comes back to you. And, your thought or any changes in between now and then while we're talking to him, please feel free to call. And if any of the residents are listening to the conversation tonight, same thing, please feel free to call. We'll try to incorporate them or at least get it back to the board so we can make a decision before this is completely finalized. But hopefully holidays are coming up and move very quickly and hopefully get it out to bid sometime in January. But we know the school closing is sometime in June. So they'll have a 5-month window to hopefully get it out for 30 days and have it brought back. It's actually a pretty simple project because of what the sub base is today. And the water line should be fairly simple too, other than Courtney's gonna be doing overtime connections. Because once it's built, you can't dig up my road. And it's mine till April. Anything else, sir?
Sir.
Do I have a consensus of the board to put this together with someone to?
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to the engineer.
If I may make one more comment? Yes, sir. We do have, I guess Josh is gonna be working overtime on this one. We do have a couple of public hearings that may be coming up.
On roadways acceptance?
Well, that's, the word is they're coming. As well as a couple other things to do with public hearing, whether we do it all by this right here and try to explain to people about it. There's not a lot to explain, especially with road adoption, but I know there's a couple other question marks that may come up as public hearing.
We only allow 15 in here, we'd have to open up the museum, possible, correct?
Yes.
And we'll only allow so many in there, so we'll have to, once that comes about, I'm sure the town administrator, emergency management team, and Josh can work that out.
Yeah.
But we've been waiting, we've been hearing they've been coming, but they haven't, so I'm sure winter's fast approaching, they want to get them in fast.
So officially, I'm back on Wednesday, I think. Just cut the vacation short by a day, see if I can get this started, so.
Hopefully you got your deer in between.
I did. All right, good deal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in on your vacation. Gentlemen, moving on to number 4 then, 2019 auction revenues. I read the packet from Liz, she had sent it up to the town attorney, waiting for a certain hearing to be over to see if they could she could get us to take the money out of escrow and put it into these fund balance. Yep, according to what the town attorney says, yes, we can. My only question to the town administrator is, that $220,000 that we wanted to transfer in the night, vote on, does that include just what was owed on taxes or what was brought in total?
That's what was brought in total from the sale of the properties that are now back on the tax rolls.
And according to the town attorney, everything gets denied by the plaintiff? In
Yes.
that court case over in Cheshire County, I think it was Cheshire County.
It was Polanski versus Town of Bedford.
And the judge ruled in the town's favor. Just hard for me to believe that a judge would let the bulk of the money, someone's property, go to the town, not just only the taxes that were owed. That's where I just find that moves me, or go to the bank that held the mortgage on it. So gentlemen, the town administrator is requesting a vote tonight. And so politely, she wrote us the motion. But one of you gentlemen, if you don't have any questions for the town administrator, you'd like to read that motion, give a second, we can move forward with this process.
I'll do it.
Well, this way, I don't have to say it first.
And that's just second it.
Okay, the motion is, I move to release the auction revenue funds and all accrued interest from the 2019 auction escrow account held by the town treasurer and place all of these funds and interest in the general fund. As of September 30th, 2020, said funds totaled of $220,000 $570.03. Once the transfer has been made, the 2019 auction escrow fund is to be closed.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Whitman, second by Ms. McDonald. I'll open the floor for discussion. So is anything, town administrators, anybody can sue for anything. This does not stop anybody from suing the town of Alton requesting that said funds, after tax, all taxes and penalties were paid for, that they could request to have that done. Was this Superior Court over there, or was this?
This was Superior
This
Court,
was
and I
Superior Court.
think that is, Hillsborough County.
Hillsborough County, okay.
I
So
think
it is case law now, which is
Yeah.
good. I just want to make sure this, I just don't feel it's right. I feel it's right that the town gets the taxes that were owed and the interest and the penalties. I don't believe the town should have the right to take extra money that was above and beyond that.
Interest?
Well, no. Say if the only taxes were owed on this one particular property, say $50,000, but the town took $100,000 then off. I feel the town is entitled to the $50,000 penalties and interest and lawyer fees, recording fees. But if it's $25,000 or over, it should go back to the property owner or to the bank that had to foreclose on it. But normally, if a bank forecloses, we wouldn't have gotten it anyways. They would have paid the taxes up to date. That's just my feeling. I don't feel the town should be making a profit off the auction above and beyond the taxes, the interest, the penalties, and the lawyer fees. But the town attorney has ruled that this money is rightfully the town's now. I'm just saying down the road, we could see a lawsuit come up with it, and then we go through Belmont Superior Court, but there's already a case ruling out of Hillsborough.
And may I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you remember, the 2019 auction was an absolute auction.
Right.
So they were put up for sale, highest bidder wins. That's what these funds are. But we couldn't put them into the general fund right away because of this legal case down in Hillsborough County. And so that's been determined, that the law stays that it is, and everything that we have done with our auctions and other towns and cities have done with their auctions remains the same.
All the questions, Mr. Chairman.
So even though I feel that it's not right, we should not be sitting in an escrow account leaving money in there. Now that the town attorney said it is fine. So I'll call for the vote. Is there no further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen, moving on to Selectmen's reports. I'll call on Mr. Holt.
I just have one little milfoil committee, Dash Work company that has been doing it for us is no longer going to be doing it next year. So I got an email from Dave Gould, the chairman. He, working with Kelly, they're going to be drawing up some bids, going out to bid. They have 3 contractors now they're looking at. Other than that, yep.
Mr. Rochelle.
Just a brief, the ZAC committee is now completed and ended their reviews over the 6 different amendments that were gone over, that's now gone over to the planning department for approval or to look at. It went well. Everything seemed to move along pretty well. So just wanted to mention it was now, the next step is going to the planning board.
Mr. Whitman.
I have nothing.
Mr. McDonald.
That's on the agenda for tomorrow night. No, I don't have a meeting till tomorrow night. Conservation was canceled, so.
All right, moving on to mine, with Budget Committee, we did meet last week. Kind of stated my ground a little bit at the last Budget Committee meeting. Liz was there. The last 2 times, actually, I kind of stated my position as a selectman, and that I represent the Board of Selectmen as the Selectmen's liaison to the Budget Committee. I am not the Budget Committee's liaison to the Board of Selectmen. Did make that assurance last week, so in case that question arises. Because I feel that at times, as certain members of the Budget Committee are trying to set policy versus recommend and not to recommend. And it's my understanding of the Budget Committee is when a budget is presented to them by department heads or the Board of Selectmen, it is their duty to recommend or not to recommend our budget, but not to institute for next year what we should be setting for policy. So I did say if they wanted something brought back before the board, they needed to make a motion, majority needed to approve it, and I would bring it back. Otherwise, I would not bring nothing to the board. I hope you gentlemen are in agreement with that.
I agree with that, absolutely.
The motion that was made last week did fail, just to let you know, so I'm not bringing anything to you. Other than that, the budget for the budget committee is moving right along. The department has done a great job presenting their budgets to them, answering their questions. Town administrator, same thing. Laura was there last week along with Liz and the other department heads. So I want to thank them for their support and for being there in person. It makes things a little bit easier.
Thank you.
And that is all I have for tonight. So I'll move on to the town administrator's report.
Okay. The first item I have is a document which you have from the town clerk, tax collector. Actually, with her tax collector hat on. Currently, by law, she's allowed to waive any interest that is up to $5. Anything over $5 has to come before the board. Her memo to you is requesting that you increase that cap from $5 to $10.
And what the town administrator's for is asking for a motion to approve the request of the tax collector to waive the interest in the amount of $5 to $10.
It's time. It's been a while.
No, it makes sense.
Are you thinking about lowering the interest rates on past due taxes from 16% down to maybe a little more reasonable, 8%? It's due time. Interest rates out there at 2.75.
Yeah.
That is set by law, so I have no control over that.
What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Oh, is that much to?
No, I don't think
No.
so.
She should at least have that leeway.
She should.
So if you're in agreement, just a simple motion would suffice?
Make a motion to allow the tax collector to waive the property tax interest from $5 to $10.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rochelle to approve the tax collector's request to waive the interest from $5 to $10, second by Mr. Whitman. Any further discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative.
Okay. The next item has to do with the solar array RFP that you received previously. This was reviewed by Attorney Sessler. He is fine with it, but he wanted to be assured, which I assured him, that if you do approve this and things start moving forward step by step, all future documents with this company would have to come before the board, such as the lease contract, the pilot contract, and the rebate agreement. Those are the three forms of revenue on this. And normally that's done. So, and they're not done all at once. One is brought, you review it, I take it to the attorney, he reviews it, and then I bring it back to you. So that was just, you had asked that
Yes.
this go to the attorney, and this is,
So my second question, did he send you back written confirmation of that?
no,
Or was it verbal?
it's verbal.
Okay, the only reason I would request written confirmation of that, so it can be kept along with the file, so 10 years down the road, when many of us might not be here, they say, well, the town attorney look at it, and they go back and says, oh, no, he only verbally recommended it. I'd just like to have a paper trail
Sure.
with his email on it from him stating that he approves this, and that the selectmen will follow the steps for each step of this contract, that he will review it.
Yeah, I'll definitely get that.
All right, so
That's
gentlemen,
no
I would need a
problem.
motion to approve the RFP for the pilot for the solar array.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We're just,
I'll second that for discussion.
Motion been made by Paul Rochelle to approve the RFP of the pilot solar array.
Pilot part we're doing the whole contract.
We're saying right now, we're agreeing, if I'm not mistaken, we're agreeing to what they've come back to us with. The town council looked at it, he's approved it. Now this gives them permission to file DES permits to move forward. It does not give approval for them to start building tomorrow.
You're agreeing to do business with this particular vendor who answered the RFP.
Underneath that contract.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'll poll the board then. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Reluctantly, yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Yes. Vote is in the affirmative.
Thank you. The next item I have has to do with the draft two-page press release. If you recall at the last meeting, I was asked to, at the very end of the meeting, I believe it was, to just come up with some sort of a press release explaining to the residents about the recent tax rate setting. This is just a rough draft. And see if you want anything changed, added, removed.
There was one other thing. Did I see your copy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Isn't that good?
No. It was
It's in the
Yes,
back of
it's
your
all the
book,
way in the back of the folder,
way back.
in TA report.
So the only thing I would like to have put in there, I'd let the folks also know in that year, there was no road reconstruction, so $950,000 was not voted upon. Was not voted upon, so that also cut that budget by $1 million.
Yeah, that's right.
I can add that in.
If we could add that in.
Yep.
So when they start looking at it, it wasn't just off $2 million, it was almost $3.5 million now. Then everything as stated in this, everything was voted in this year, so you had the $950,000, plus you had the $2 million increase. That was really a $3 million increase. I don't know about the rest of you, but I stand on Main Street pretty good. People know right where to find me. I've gotten beaten up pretty bad in the last 4 days, but after I sit there and explain to them why this has gone up, because most of them don't ask why it's gone up. They just see it gone up and are back up over $13. And I said, we're right back where we were 2 years ago, about 10 cents, 20 cents more. But I explained to them what happened that year. We went to a default budget. We did not have the road reconstruction. The money was not approved even after by petition. So basically, you're looking at a $3 million difference there, plus the $500,000. So that's why it lowered so much. And this year, everything got approved just about, plus special warrant articles, almost everything except I think it was 2. That's what raised it right back up on. So mostly, after talking to them about this, and I'd talked to Liz about doing this, is just so it can more simply maybe explain the reason why. Because even though we had nothing to do with the lowering the tax rate except for that $500,000, the default budget is what really lowered it. Okay, we didn't. We had a regular budget that we were trying to get passed. And
We dropped it only cents.
Okay. So when some folks said, well, why can't you go through the budget now and lower it? And I said, when you're talking a $10 million budget, which your 3 biggest departments are your highway, your police, and your fire, and the benefit. But even if you cut $100,000 out of a $10 million budget, it's like a drop out of a spigot. You won't see anything until what has happened before. And we tell them the department heads do best to come in and request what they want. It's mostly the increase in budgets are from our pay increases in insurances, whether it's benefits, whether it's liability insurance or workers' comp, and everything goes up. Most of the times, we usually see a liability insurance 5% increases. But also everyone is entitled to fair pay and fair wages. So I did try to sit and talk with most of them. I think 1 out of the 10 I had the discussion with did not agree with me. And I don't think he'd agree with me anyways, just give me a hard time. So I just want to let you know, I think this is good. This is the first time really Alton has sat down and explained exactly.
I think it's very good to do this.
I would just like to see the road reconstruction aspect.
Yeah, because that contributed to it.
And that was roughly
$950,000.
A million.
That's a good way to explain it.
Yeah. helps.
Yeah.
I don't need a motion, if just a general consensus, if you're okay,
Mr.
and I'll
McDonald?
add that in.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Michelle? Yes. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes, you've got the consensus, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry to take up more of that time, but I just wanted to explain a little bit more. I got one at the store.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then the last item I have, just to bring you up to date on the Shibley's lease dock project that's going on. GC Engineering is going to be out on the site this week, if they haven't already been, measuring and everything, and he's going to create the plot plan, which is the professional sketch with the dimensions and everything, with the 10-foot curtilage that will go around the entire structure. As you know, based on the property card, the curtilage line cut through a portion of the dock, and it cut through part of the little storage area out there.
Yes.
So it's now going to go around it fully. The reason I'm bringing this to your attention is that other little foot wooden dock that's down by the public boat launch, that is, it's my understanding, it's used primarily for people who are loading their boats or
Yes.
bringing them in, that somebody can stand there with a rope or whatever.
Yes.
That is currently within the curtilage area, and,
But not all of it.
right, right. 27 square feet, 9 feet by 3 feet is within the curtilage area. So I just wanted to kind of refresh my memory and confirm with you that particular little dock. Did you want that to be maintained by Shibley's, or is that something that really the town should maintain because it's more for the boat launch?
I think it's something, myself personally, I think it's something the town should maintain for the boat launch. Because if not, someone's gonna get in their boat, unload, they're gonna go right over the public dock and sit there for an hour, hour and a half.
Yes.
This way here, they'll launch the boat, they tie it up for a minute, they get all the stuff out of the truck, they pull up and out of the way, they're gone. And for safety issues, I think that would be, it's a good idea.
Up to the 10-foot curvilege.
Yes. So currently, just so that you're aware, I checked with the assessor last Friday. Currently, that little wooden footbridge dock thing is within the curtilage, the bulk of it, but they were not taxed for it. So that tells me that it must have been the same sort of thought process back years ago, that because it's primarily for the boat launch, why should he be taxed on it if it's really for the boat launch, and then the town would maintain it and everything. So that's, I just wanted to confirm.
Do you gentlemen agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with it.
No, I think the whole thing should be left for loading of it. And I think when we rewrite the lease, that we talk to Mr. Shibley, and that would be part of the one thing we pull out of that 10-foot curtilage. I think.
It's smart, too.
No, I think, I agree. I mean,
Well, I'm just confused. What are you taking out of the curtilage or?
Dock, a little catwalk.
Right at the bottom of the boat launch on the right.
Yeah.
you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That there, we want to take out to leave it for the people who use for the boat launch.
Right now, 9 foot by 3 foot kind of belong to the lease, but they were never taxed on it, from my understanding.
Right, that's right. They were not.
They were not taxed on
They
it.
were not taxed on it, but yet it was part of the 10-foot curtilage. So I'm requesting that we keep that whole catwalk dock, even if it goes within that 10-foot curtilage.
I see what you're saying.
If it goes even within the curtilage a little bit, we keep that for the town. We put that as part of the lease with Mr. Shibley.
That he would be excluded
He
from
would be
taxation
excluded from
on that
taxation from it, and the
particular-
town would maintain it.
Yeah.
And it would be
Even though
open to
the-
public use.
Even though the curtilage line would show, because you want to have a nice, neat,
Right, but the
line.
curtilage line would have to be adjusted to that.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, because
That's why I said up to the curtilage.
because future down the road.
So it would have to be like a little zigzag
Right,
thing.
because future down the road, we don't want to run into the same problem.
Right.
We might have somebody.
Right.
No.
Define.
We don't.
The catwalk should be total boat launch.
Catwalk, that's a good one.
Yeah. That's all it really is.
So I just wanted to bring this up for a brief discussion, make sure everybody's on the same page.
On the 10 page.
Okay.
Is everybody,
That'll be in his lease.
huh?
That's gonna be in the new lease.
That would be in the lease as described, but that is town's catwalk for launching and loading boats. That would not be Mr. Shibley's by the pier, that would be the town of Alton's. But be defined in the lease.
Is Mr. Shibley aware of that? He understands that?
I have not spoken to him, but I think he would be okay with it. I remember last fall, in talking with him about this, he really didn't know who owned it. It had been there forever, and he really could not
That was the
tell if
problem.
somebody was using it to park their boat there to go into the restaurant, because the kitchen's on the other side, and I really think he wouldn't care one way or the other, quite
I just think it
frankly.
should be part of the lease, we'll redo it.
Yeah.
And then it's important to have that there for the residents to use or for, open to the public to be able to do their boat launch and be able to tie off right there temporarily. It's not for day docking, it's not for anything, it's just temporary, just load and unload.
Yeah, yep, good. Or I guess
Everybody agree with Bob?
Oh, yeah, that is town-owned, that is owned by Shibley's.
No, but has never been taxed on.
I know he has, yep.
The town's maintained it over the years.
He is, yeah.
So right now, when we redo, this is the time to finalize the new lease. We're working on a new lease. This would exclude that from that lease and also exclude Mr. Shibley from ever paying taxes on it or rent.
That would make it clear.
Yeah.
There would be no question, there'd be no question at this point.
But it's not saying we're taking ownership of it.
We would be taking ownership of it, yes. Because he does not show ownership now, that one little catwalk, only except for 27 square feet, 9 feet by 3 feet,
Just because of the curtilage line, that was.
because of the curtilage line, because they made them straight lines.
You don't really use that dock anyways.
No, he never has, really.
No.
Oh, no.
Never has.
That's not the issue.
Well, what's the issue?
Well, no. I'm not prepared to vote in that time, but that's all right.
Well, I'm just asking for a consensus. We're not asking for a vote. I'm asking for a consensus because what they're doing is drawing up the curtilage line now. There's an engineering firm going down and taking all the measurements, getting it drafted onto a plot plan, and then be brought back before the board when the Shibleys and the Board of Selectmen negotiate the new lease and agree to the new lease.
That way we don't go through what we went through before with not knowing where the car.
Exactly.
And who owned that other dock.
We've
who had
already,
rights. This way it's all gonna be defined and
we've gone through this all last year.
a couple of
Gone
times
through
now.
it with all with the attorney, with the assessing department. It was measured, calculated, written, everything's put down, so, and this needs to be.
And I'm just asking, right now, I'm just asking for a consensus to allow the town administrator with the engineer to outline that area that would be kept as town port.
My consensus is, I agree with that, yes.
So we can see it.
Well, we'll see, yes. Okay. Yeah. Mr. Holt? Yes. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes, you got the consensus from the,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All I have for open session.
That's it. Okay, gentlemen, moving on to approval of minutes, November 2nd, 2020, regular session.
Make a motion to approve the November 2nd, 2020.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to approve November 2nd, 2020, regular minutes, second by Mr. Rochelle. Any discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Moving on to November 2nd, 2020, non-public. Yes, ma'am.
I recommend that you release number 1 and keep number 2 sealed.
Not to divulge.
Right. Not,
I make a motion that we approve the November 2nd, 2020, non-public session and release 1 and keep 2 sealed,
Not to divulge.
up to the vouch.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to approve the November 2nd, 2020, non-public session by releasing item 1 and keeping 2 not to divulge.
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitman. Any other discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Moving on to November 9th, budget meeting.
I move we approve the minutes for November 9th budget meeting.
A second.
Motion made by Mr. Holt to approve November 9th budget meeting minutes, second by Mr. Rochelle. Any discussion? Being none, Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is the affirmative. Gentlemen, moving on to the consent agenda, I would request a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted for November 16th, 2020.
So moved, Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Wentworth to approve the consent agenda as submitted to the Board of Selectmen, November 16th, 2020, seconded by Paula Rochelle. Any further discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes,
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Discretionary action on request appointment, no discussion, majority vote required to allow or not to allow appointment. Mr. Babb is requesting to meet with the Board of Selectmen. As you see in your agenda, and also as you know, there is legal action still being taken here, and the town administrator is recommending not to meet this.
Still legal action, or is it settled?
He has an attorney. He has an attorney, and we have an attorney, and they are still talking.
Oh, so the court stuff ain't settled then?
Something's not.
There are legal negotiations ongoing.
Yep.
This point, we're being advised not to meet until things are still resolved, correct?
Yeah.
I just thought everything was resolved.
No,
I
he
think by now.
went out and got a new attorney.
Do you need a motion on this, or just a consensus?
I think a motion is needed.
Make a motion not to meet with Mr. Babb.
A motion made by Mr. Whitman, not to meet with Mr. Babb's request. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Holt. Do I have any other further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yeah.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Second one is from James and Allison Brown, waiver request.
I had a question on that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, go right ahead.
I read through a lot of it. It's quite lengthy.
Yes.
What's the opinion of the planning board?
Oh, I gotta stop you there, Virgil. Step down off the board. Well, I know, but it's family members, so just to keep it precise.
Do we have any input?
So wait a minute, I should say, I'm gonna request that he steps off the board because this is a family member of his. Does the board agree with that or not?
Yes.
yeah.
I might be able to
Go
answer,
right ahead.
Selectman Holt. It's my understanding from the town planner that a waiver of this type for paving has never been done before. I don't have an opinion of the planning board, but that is the history. And that's why they were requested, this applicant was requested to provide all of this information.
All right,
Yeah.
it's quite lengthy.
It would be a waiver of the highway regs, which the selectmen approved years ago. That's why it would be coming to you, and that, these are the regs that are followed through the planning process.
I guess my,
All the standards up to for a grade 6 road, except for paving.
I can't answer that, I don't know. I don't
That's what
know.
it looks like.
so I guess the best thing to do is we set up at our next meeting, we meet with the folks, they're requesting a meeting, I can understand it. So it'd be up to the pleasure of the board and not to meet with the Browns.
My second question is, who would we be meeting with?
The Browns.
The Browns.
Yes. We'd have the town planner here for our assistance too.
Okay. Now, they have an engineering firm.
Through
They
this
have a
before the
surveyor.
planning board. Yes.
Will they be present? See,
I would assume so, but I don't know.
yeah. See, will they have a lawyer there?
I don't know.
Okay.
The way one reason I understand it coming before is this is all family that are building on the same property. Two is, once you put two buildings or two homes on the same right of way, you have to bring up the towns to minimum road standards, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
So they're asking for that waiver because it's all family. So they're treating it like a regular driveway, not a regular town-maintained road. And I believe it could be the cost that's involved, this is why they do not want to go forward with this, plus where they feel it's only family. And I'm just speaking here out of what I'm reading into this, that to help keep the costs down for the couple, that this will help them. Mr. Roberts does have his hand up back there. I don't know if you'd like, to have him come up or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Roberts? Speaking on behalf of the road highway agent, correct? Yes.
This is not a very unusual request, actually. And the reason is that we have Alton Shores. Paper streets are there everywhere. We can't require them to pave them because they were subdivided prior to this. That particular piece of property has 3 lots on it already. How it got subdivided that way might have been prior to the 70s, before the planning board already did that. So there was, to my understanding, there is a road approval that was up in there quite a ways. And from my understanding, they've been upgrading that section that was on paper road. So this is just a request to you, the board, and not to pave it. And I don't know where the legal standing to this is, because there's already a 3-lot subdivision there. It wasn't just the 2 homes, it was actually the 3. So I don't know where the planning board stands on this. There's big question marks everywhere on this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I see no reason it'd be up to the board.
So this is just whether you want to hear these people or not.
Exactly.
When it does get scheduled before you, there's going to be input from as many professional sources as possible, whether they recommend or not
I'm just
recommend.
saying, we have other roads that have.
My thoughts on it, when it comes to family building on the same land or subdivision or buying parcels off their family, but the right of way goes through, as long as it stays within the family, they should just be able to have a regular driveway, or at least with dirt road, width enough to have safety vehicles attend. Once the property is sold to outside the family member, that's when the road should be brought up to regular town standards.
Right.
But this is why certain families have big lots of land, so hopefully the kids will come home, build on it, subdivide, build on it, but not thinking that the cost of a roadway will get them more money. But, I mean, that's my feeling. If my kids ever wanted to come home, we had one driveway accessing all those lots. If it stayed in the family, I don't see why the town would not let them do that. But if a piece of that, one of those parcels are ever sold to a private, non-family member, then it would have to come in compliance with the town. Because then at a point you might meet the density requirements, they come in and ask the town to take it over and it's not paid, that's why. But that's my feeling. I think we should meet with them. They've been working on this issue for quite some time.
Yeah, it looks that way.
I think we should hear them.
Oh, sure.
We should meet with them.
We should have
That's all we have to decide tonight.
We should have Jessica here.
That's why I recommended 5 to 15 minutes for you to
For
meet.
that, I also like to know if what Mr. Roberts just told us about 3 lots already in there and been pre-approved before this, if that's the case, I'd like to have that before us, what he just stated.
Okay.
If Jessica can answer on that part,
Yep.
and that would be great. All in agreement?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So you
So,
just need a motion to approve.
I need a motion to approve the request of James and Allison Brown for a waiver request. Do I have a second to my motion?
Yes.
Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes affirmative. Mr. McDonald, would you please join us back? Thank you. Moving on to non-public session, gentlemen. At this point, we have non-public tonight underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, A and B. I guess I made that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Lauren's made a motion to go in non-public session in the RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, A and B. Second by Mr. Holt. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Folks, we are in non-public session at this point. Thank you for coming, and we will return to public session here shortly.
Liz, there's another box of tissues I need.
Good evening. We are back. The Board of Selectmen voted to leave non-public session at 8:35. We're now 8:37. We waited for Josh to come up and join us to turn us back on. So gentlemen, I need a motion to divulge the minutes of non-public session underneath A, effectively adversely the reputation of any persons other than a member of this board. Motion is made by Mr. Wentworth not to divulge the minutes from non-public session underneath A, effective adversely the reputation of any person other than the board of this member. Second, Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? Mr. Whitman? Yes. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Virgil?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Yes. Vote is affirmative. Gentlemen, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:38 PM.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rochelle to adjourn the selectmen's meeting at 8:38, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Yes. Mr. McDonald? Yes. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Folks, thank you for attending tonight. We are adjourned now at 8:38 PM. Enjoy your evening.